morning. This is Jessica Dawson with the Financial Drag Show and my co-founder, Nicole Powers, and our backup drag queen, Cora Holloway. And guys, we have a very special guest coming in from Chicago. It's Franco Lamarco. How are you doing, Franco?
I'm fantastic. I'm so excited to be here tonight.
Thank you for coming on. I met Franco through LinkedIn. We were on one of the platforms, and we just started chatting. He had seen a few of the posts. I think, did you see the Financial Drag Show post?
I did.
Did it come across loud?
Yes, it did. Loud and proud.
Yes. I don't think we've ever seen anybody have a drag show with finance. And by the way, this is the third episode of season 2. This is what we're going to call Full Rainbow. And I'm not sure if y'all know what Full Rainbow is. That means everybody on the show is in the LGBTQ.
I love that.
It's a little bit different. And, last week was Full Rainbow, but we didn't announce it. So I'm going to say that in the post from now on. It's Full Rainbow if everybody is in the LGBTQ. And we're all helping each other and helping the younger generations out, learn about finance, and ask as many questions as we can to Franco. Does anybody got a question for Franco to start it off?
Yeah, so I didn't read too much about your background, Franco, because I wanted to have like a pretty transparent conversation with you here. So what do you do? And how did you and Jessica connect?
Yeah, absolutely. So my official title is I'm a principal at Bernstein Private Wealth Management, and we are a global research and investment firm. So we have about 25 countries, 25 offices in the United States, and we're also have locations in about 22 countries. So we truly are a global firm. And our firm does two things. We do research, and then we do investment management. So we take that research and we then apply it to recommendations for our clients and how they should invest their assets.
Oh, that's exciting. Well, I know as an LGBT financial professional in this community, like, how did you get to where you are today? What steps did you have to take?
Is this episode about 6 hours long? I'll give you the quick story in 6 hours. It's interesting because I didn't have a linear path to financial services. I started my career in law, so my degree is Juris Doctor, so I was a practicing attorney. And the reason why I started my career in law and not financial services is because historically, the industry of financial services was not welcoming to people like us. It is very much, think about those finance bros, white, straight men dominated the industry. Yeah. And, I remember, I did high school and college in the 90s, and I still feel like that time was just 5 years away, but it's long enough away that you can look back and realize that back then, this industry was all about nepotism. It was who you knew. Did you have an uncle, an aunt, a neighbor that worked at a firm to get into it? And I come from immigrant parents. I was an out gay man. And I realized early during my academic career, mentors and career counselors would sort of push me away from financial services, even though I was always fascinated in how wealth was created in America. And really what they were saying is this industry is not for you. That was the underlying message I was receiving. And so I was sort of pushed and prodded, and people say, oh, you're such a good speaker, you should go into law. And so I pursued a career in law, even though I was always fascinated with Wall Street and investments. And what ended up happening was I had taken the bar exam, passed it, started practicing law, and made a promise to myself that if I was ever afforded an opportunity to go into the business, I would try it. So fast forward 3 years, I'm practicing as an attorney. I'm at a networking event, and I come into contact with someone who was the managing director of the Morgan Stanley office in Chicago. And they said to me, I know a lot of attorneys, but you don't remind me of any of them. So I'm sorry if that's an offense. You remind me of the people that I work with. And I said, well, you didn't tell me what you do and who you work for. And he says, well, I work for Morgan Stanley. And I said, well, I'll take that as a compliment. So just to land this airplane, about 4 months later, I received an offer to start at Morgan Stanley, and I accepted it. And I told myself I'd try it for a year, and if it didn't work out, I'd go back to practicing law. And that was now over 16 years ago.
Wow.
That's a
Talk
journey.
about a pivot. I also have a JD. I graduated just 5 years ago, and I
Congratulations.
Thank you. I feel lost in the sense of, what to do with the JD if you don't want to practice law. So when Jessica called me with an idea for a financial technology company, I feel like there is quite a lot of overlap between the legal field and the finance field, even if it doesn't seem so on the face. So I'm
Absolutely.
with you. I love hearing JD preferred jobs instead of JD required. So that's really awesome to see where that took you.
Thank you. And I'll tell you this, your JD, your background is really going to position you for a tremendous career, especially as an entrepreneur, because all the skills you learn in analytics and being able to, unpackage a problem, how to advise people, how to connect with folks, all of those skills you're going to use every day as a professional. And that's great because
Yeah, I feel like that, with Jessica calling me with whatever problems they are that day. But I also feel like what you started your conversation with, that there is definitely still an overwhelming sense of you don't belong here when we're talking with VCs or talking with angel investors. If they are those finance pros that people are familiar seeing on TikTok and Instagram, because they're still out there, the finance pros are still there. But
That's when you send me in. And I do shots with them, get them drunk, and make them sign the papers. Let's go. Let's do business.
You know what? Next time, Cora, I will do that. Luckily, I don't run into them all the time. But yeah, Jessica and I felt that right away, where we're like, are we ever gonna get funding? Like, people don't want to say yes to us because they're saying no to us before they can even hear what we're pitching them. So that's something that we have to definitely traverse all the time.
Franco, you can see why I grabbed her as my co-founder really quickly. She's an exceptional person, and her skill set, after hanging out with her, being best friends when we met at the transgender support group, that's a long story that we could go into, but we've been best friends since. We used to talk on the phone nonstop, and when we started working on the company, we continued to do that. And it's absolutely been a fun ride. And then, adding in our other friends, because our app, it helps Cora and all the other friends, the way it's set up. But, when I talked to you on Monday, guys, I got to cheat and I got to talk to Franco on Monday for a little bit and explain kind of what Fisk Mobile Tipping does. But we were talking, about what questions we should ask. And he said that he knew about the exit strategy. And when you're a startup and you first hear that from an angel investor or a VC, you're like, what? I'm selling my company before it's even built? And can you explain that and open up the can of worms and let us know exactly how to sprinkle the fairy dust on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about an exit, basically what that means is you're either going to sell your company to a competitor. You're going to sell your company to a private equity firm, or you may transition the company to a family member or another leader within the organization. And so some of those exits are planned, and a lot of exits aren't planned, right? So for example, someone can be the CEO of a privately held business, and all of a sudden they pass away, right? They get hit by a bus. Well, that's a forced exit, right? So how does that interest in that business transfer, and who does it transfer over to? Right. So exits can mean a lot of different things, but the key takeaway, the exit is walking away from your company.
And why would an investor, obviously without the obvious answer, like, you know, when am I going to make my money back? But why else does an investor want to know, hey, you know, what is your exit strategy? Because it is an awkward, it's an awkward idea to mess around with your when you're just founding a company, because, you know, you don't want to think about already getting rid of it. So why would an investor want to know?
Yeah, the investor wants to know because let's look at their title. They're an investor, right? You're not a nonprofit, so they're not giving you a donation.
Yeah.
Their expectation is the dollars that I give you are going to give me some sort of return. And so the highest return typically comes when that venture gets sold. So whether it's sold to a private equity firm or it's sold to another buyer, the profits from that sale then get distributed first and foremost to everyone who invested in your business.
I got a big question. So, you know, we have a crowd fund going on right now. And last year was the first time that I started investing through the crowdfund platform. We're not these big accredited investors. And guys, I don't know if y'all know what an accredited and not accredited investor is. There's sometimes we're going to mention something. Y'all write these questions down. Non-accredited investors are pretty much all of the common folk that you're going to see. The accredited investors, it's $200,000 every for the past 2 years and $1 million in assets other than their private home. So
I think it's $1.5 million, but yeah, it's.
They're thinking about changing that as well. But if you get into a crowd fund and you put a couple of $100 or $1,000 in, when that company gets bought out, is that when you make your money in a crowd fund, or do you just continue to ride on that as it gets bought out and get bought out?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on the terms, right? The way a crowd fund works is, you're absolutely right, Jessica. It opens it up to the full landscape of investors without having to be accredited and prove how much money they have. And we could talk about the history of why those accreditations were created. But you can either make money back almost like a loan structure. I give you money for your company, and I want to get paid back through profits over the course of how many years. And I'm going to retain a percentage of your company, right? That's one way of doing it. But that is a very long time horizon. What most people are looking for, especially when they're doing crowdfunding, is I'm going to give you money and I want your business to grow, and I'm going to give you the capital so you can grow that business to a certain point. And once you reach a certain point, my hope is that a private equity firm or a competitor comes in and says, wow, you have a fantastic product or solution. I'm going to give you this much for it. And when you get that money, like I said previously, your original investors have to get paid out first. And typically it's not the amount of money they put in, it's the amount of money they put in plus X percentage over that amount. So that's how they are generating returns. They want you to grow your company. They want you to get to the next level. They want you to exit.
I had a question about smaller investors.
Mhm.
When you're an angel, you're doing your own funds. What is the percentage that you would be right in picking one of those companies? Because I talk to a lot of people who have never invested before. They've never seen it. They're being introduced to this world.
Mhm.
You take $100 and you go down and buy lottery tickets, or you take $100 and you invest it in a startup. Which one has got the better odds? The odds in the lottery are
Probably about the same.
Yeah, I would say, crowdfunding really opened up the landscape where your average Joe who lives next door can invest in startups. But really where the needle is being moved today is through venture capital companies and venture funds. And the reason why venture is a little bit more appreciated is because someone is doing the due diligence for you. You're taking your money, you're giving it to a venture capital group that is going out there and finding companies like yours, looking at your balance sheet, looking at your cash flow, the pace at which you are raising capital from investors. And then they're going to put their stamp of approval. They're going to put their vote of confidence on you and say, this is a fantastic company. We believe in you. We're going to include you in our portfolio. That's one way. But with individuals who are doing it through crowdfunding, you have to be careful because it could seem and be like a lottery. So first and foremost, you have to determine how much money can you put aside to do this type of investing, to invest into a startup. Because the last thing you want to do is put all your eggs in one basket, and that goes belly up, and you've now lost your entire life savings. So it's very, very important to do your due diligence and to understand to whom you're giving your money to is this a legitimate company? And is this something, a product or solution that I can get behind?
So I want to talk to you about the venture funds. With your company, is that something that is only allowed for private equity to invest in venture funds, or is that also like family offices, high net worth individuals, but still that's cut off from non-accredited investors, right?
Correct, Nicole. Investing in a venture fund is going to cut you off if you're not an accredited investor. Okay. But let's talk about why these terms exist, why this standard exists. It's not set forth by my firm or other firms. It's set forth by the SEC. And so you have an accredited investor, and then above accredited investor, you have qualified purchaser. So you very nicely described what an accredited investor is. And then the next level up is a qualified purchaser, where you can show you have $5 million or more of liquid assets. What drove this was actually the stock market crash that happened Black Friday back in 1927. Please don't quote me if that date is incorrect.
27, 29, I think it is.
Yeah, so many mom and pop individuals, average Joes, were watching how people were getting rich off the stock market, and they were taking all of their savings and throwing it into an investment. They were throwing it into a stock, a company, and some of them were fraudulent. They were scams. And also, when the stock market collapsed, they didn't have other assets held away from their investment. So when they lost their investment, they lost everything that they own. So the government stepped in and said, we are now going to create these different categories where we can allow investors, if you have a certain amount of money, we're going to believe that you have a certain level of sophistication. And that's how accredited and qualified purchaser came about. But the truth of the matter is, in my observation, just because you have money doesn't mean you're smart.
Cora.
Exactly. And also, I feel like these restrictions don't cut people off from throwing all their money into penny stocks or throwing all their money into, alternative currencies and whatever the next trend in investing is. So I get the SEC is trying to watch out for the common folk, but I think they should definitely reconsider what an accredited investor means and maybe have a exam to prove your qualification or something instead of a bank account number.
Cora, what do you think about all this stuff? We're throwing around a lot of interesting terms, and being in the entertainment industry, does this look like something that you would be doing in the future?
I've been dabbling like in stocks and talking to friends at work about stocks for quite some time because they're like, you have money saved up. What are you doing with it? And I'm like, letting it sit there. I'm trying to build it up. And they're like, no, but like, what are you going to do with it to increase it? And so it is exciting to like listen because it's something that I have been in talks with friends and whatnot. And what am I going to do with it? So I think it's exciting to like learn and get some more input about what things to do, what not to do, and where to go from that. Especially as technically drag is a business, it's great to know like what is the next steps if I do want to create a business and start something. Say I start to learn how to sew or make jewelry or do hair, probably not going to happen. But say what happened if I did? What would I do?
Well, we're all entrepreneurs here, and that's the fascinating thing. Cora's bringing money in. She's cash flow positive. We are still pre-revenue, so here she's doing drag, and we haven't made money yet, which is
yeah, keyword yet.
Keyword yet.
Keyword yet. Yeah. I feel like I'm getting a history lesson with all the accredited investors. And if our audience is listening, I know there's a lot of people around the world that have been, reaching out to me on LinkedIn. If you do have questions, guys, reach out. I will gladly ask next time the next guest. But Franco's been, a big sport coming on here to guide us through all of this. Franco, do you have questions for us? From the drag that Cora does to what we're doing?
Absolutely. I love that you called yourselves entrepreneurs, because that is the case. Cora, you are an entrepreneur. You are in the entertainment space. You are going out there. You're selling your performance. And Jessica, Nicole, you have your venture right now that you are trying to build, right? You are trying to solve for something by launching your solution. So I'd love to ask all three of you entrepreneurs on this podcast today, what inspired you to take that leap of faith and go out into the world to do your venture?
Cora, you want to go first?
Sure, yeah. Actually, I got my start in drag because I was going to college for musical theater. And then when I worked with the cast of Legally Blonde on national tour, they said, you don't need a degree to perform. I said, well, what am I doing here giving all this money to this college? A 5-year program, and then I'd be a communications degree with specialization in musical theater. What am I going to do with this? So I said, all right, we're going to divert. So I started doing classes for dental assisting, and I had night classes, so I couldn't do any musicals at the time. So I'm like, how can I work, make a little more money, and perform at the same time? And then I started doing drag. And then I realized, you got to put in the money before you make the money. And so now, as someone that lives down here in Central Florida, now it's all about finding the correct venue, finding a venue that wants to pay for entertainment, just like they would any other entertainment. How can I make my show different from anybody else? And then how, you start off once a month, then maybe once a week, and then you start selling merch. So it's all about kind of building the stepping stones to finding what I want to do next and make those moves. Like the past 2 years basically has all been about investing in my drag, buying this new wig that just showed up on my doorstep today.
Awesome.
So it's just like, it's about building up my drag so that I have quality drag, so that I know that I can sing, act, and dance. And of course, you can invest in that as well with classes and whatnot to continue to grow. But it's about finding that next step, the next investment to find who's going to invest in you. It's really a give and take situation.
Cora, I love your comments because I love that you mentioned that you're investing in your business, because I know that wig, that dress is not cheap. And so when you are going out there and finding new looks that you can present on the stage, that's investing in your business, just like anyone else would.
Cora, yeah, the wig is definitely fabulous.
Yeah.
It really is.
Because I'm doing it by myself.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's absolutely fabulous. And I love hearing the stories about how someone got into drag. I follow way too many drag queens on social media, and I find myself like lost in doom scroll or demon scrolling, whatever you call that, where you just scroll through everyone's page. But I'll latch onto a drag queen and just flip through all of her post because it's fascinating. Like, it is truly an amazing art. Thanks for coming on here the past couple
It's a
weeks.
pleasure and honor.
Nicole, you want to answer the question why you got into entrepreneurship? Now, this is not Nicole's first rodeo, I can tell you all. She has had a few companies. Go ahead, tell them, Nicole.
Yeah, no, I definitely was like a lemonade stand kid, like just wanting to make something, wanting to make money, to buy things, because I grew up a young gay boy, and I was always wanting the next fashion item and the next, whatever it could be. But, in order to do that, I had to make money because my dad wasn't going to buy me Burberry pants. That's just not something that would happen. So I got into entrepreneurship after high school. I was a ballet dancer, and I would knit leg warmers, and I would sell them as like a leg warmer company to like other professional ballet dancers. And then from there, I like started like different golf companies and everything. And I just really am drawn to like what makes people tick and like what people like. But yeah, I had a ballet store when Jessica called me with this idea. So I'd finished law school. I kind of hated doing family law, which is where I went right after law school. I don't know if you ever did that, Franco, but it's very stressful and not fun at all. So I sort of like semi-retired in my late 20s into a ballet shop, and Jessica calls me with this idea, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. And we talked
after she opened the door.
Yeah, we talked about it for probably 3 months before I was finally like, okay, I'll close the shop down and let's really hit the ground running with this.
I had to really push her. My background is a little different from y'all. Growing up in Florida, you couldn't be out. I knew that Jessica was inside of me since I was a kid. I grew up in a very conservative household. My dad's old school. You're not going to veer off. So this was all down inside. I've was assistant manager at a boutique hotel, spa manager. One of my best friends, he was the first person to promote me. And this is all while I was doing a 25-year career at Home Depot and in and out of management. I had stepped down out of management to do my transition. It was just a lot easier. You're dealing with hormones for the first time.
Mhm.
But I was, I think, one of the only associates that was assisting the younger associates that came on board with their 401ks. I'd tell them to come over to my department. I'm going to get into it now. There is no tomorrow. It starts today. You just start your future now. Getting them going and then giving good customer service. One day when someone wanted to tip me, that's when the light bulb went off.
Mhm.
I look at our country in a very financial literacy is atrocious across the board. People, I hate to say it, most everybody doesn't want to pay for anybody else. No one rides the bus for free. And the way I look at the mobile application and the potential of this application is solving. You've heard of trickle down economics, correct? And
Mhm.
I've read about it, and it does work. But trickle out economics, that's probably something you've never heard. I talked to a professor in Cairo, Egypt, not too long ago about this concept where when you are giving gratitude to someone for doing a good performance, either how Cora in the Cora does in a theater type atmosphere, when you're in customer service and you go above and beyond, or you are, in the service industry, bartender, or a server. This application allows the person that is giving you gratitude to change your reality by altering this timeline and the future timeline through gratitude. And it's never been done before. I think it's, everybody talks to me about it's an absolutely incredible idea. I'm like, I guess I'm not closing well enough. And I'm like, so what can I count you in for? That's what I need to drop on them. I knew the idea was going to be gold as soon as I thought of it. And that's Nicole and I've been working on it for 2 years and 2 months, right, Nicole? Our first investor came in and then we went on a roll. I think we have a total of 40. Nicole, is it a total of 45 investors? Some are couples and some are not.
Yeah.
It's been an awesome ride, but to take the leap, knowing that every bartender, every waitress, everybody out there that works in a company that does not have a retirement account, we're about to give them one.
Mhm.
Something this is private sector. This isn't the government going here. This is the private sector doing exactly what everybody says that the, capitalism, oh, it's bad, but the private sector is about to make something that is so lean, so mean, and it works and it's going to run smoothly. We've got a lot of work to do, of course. But what did you think of the idea when I told you, Franco? I know I talk a lot, so I'm going to be quiet.
Well, I love this. I love being around serial entrepreneurs, and that's how I would define the three of you based off of today's conversation. What really strikes me, and my observations of watching and partnering with many LGBTQ founders and entrepreneurs, and what gives me a lot of pride in our community is that LGBTQ entrepreneurs like you, Jessica, and you, Nicole, with your brand and your solution is all about making an impact, right? It's making an impact on people's lives. It's making an impact on community. And that, I think, is something special about our community and the entrepreneurs I'm coming across is their products, their solutions are really there to do good in the world and not only just benefit them as an entrepreneur, but really benefit others. And I think that's very special. That's something very special that our community has. And so, Jessica, when I hear your comments about changing lives and creating that retirement, that bucket of retirement assets like a 401k that people can use so they can live comfortably when they reach that stage of their life when they're not going to work anymore. I love it. I love it. I was very excited by the concept, by the work that you do. I would also say this. I love the fact that you mentioned your investors. The first one is always the hardest, and you'll never forget your first investor.
Oh, I won't. I can tell you.
It was her mom, so she won't forget her.
The mother
No.
won't let her.
Believe it or not, it was crazy. I had just gotten done with a BBL, and if everybody doesn't know what a BBL, it's Brazilian butt lift. And I'm just coming out, and Nicole and I have been working on the project. I think it was at the end of December, and I was eating barbecue with my mom, and I was telling her about the idea, and she's like, "That's a great idea." And I go, "Well, Mom, can I have $10,000?" I shut my mouth and I didn't speak. And she goes, "Yeah, don't tell your dad." And I was like, "What?" If you don't ask, no one's going to ever give it to you. But you got to have something good to back it up. You got to have the knowledge to back it up.
You know, Jessica, I think that's a tremendous point for those who are listening tonight. For most entrepreneurs, when they are launching their venture, that first raise is called a friends and family round.
Yep.
And that's when you're going to your mom, your dad, your uncle, your next door neighbor and saying, "Hey, I have this idea. Will you give me money?" Right? So that I can do it. So you're asking for that buy-in. And I always tell new entrepreneurs that are looking to launch something, if you can't get your friends and family to invest in you, you're not going to get investors. You're not going to get that VC firm. So that friends and family round is really an opportunity. It's sort of like the training wheels before you can ride the bike. It's an opportunity for you to go out there and pitch your idea and see if those closest to you believe in it. And if they believe in it, you can take those training wheels off and then go to market and find direct investors, and hopefully it gets larger and larger, that you start hitting VC funds, family offices, and then at the end have an exit and have possibly a private equity firm come in and buy you out.
Now, are
No,
you?
I want to ask you, Franco, before our show's over, it's not often where people can really get inside the mind of someone that's in the business. Do you have VC friends? Do you have people that work in venture? And what's something that is like overwhelmingly you hear from them that is like, this is why I chose X company. This is why I chose X founder. Like, is it, they got to have some sort of special formula. Like once all the numbers, if you compare two companies and they both look the same, why do you go with, X over Y?
I'm going to take your question and I'm going to punt it to Cora, and follow me now. Cora, what makes one drag queen better than another?
I would say, in short, the quality of entertainment. Meaning, what's the versatility of what they're doing? Can they sing, act, dance? Can they give different genres? Are they wearing different outfits? If you come out and you do 3 different numbers, are you doing the same dance moves? What are you doing that provides a wide variety of something?
Thank you, Cora, because that was exactly where I felt in my heart you were going to go, and that applies directly to founders launching their businesses, their startups. Why someone will give you money is, first and foremost, you have to be passionate about what you're selling, right? So right there, and a lot of people have passion, right? I'm sure, Cora, you see a lot of people saying, I really want to be a drag queen, and they have a lot of passion, but you may look at them and say, "Ooh, you need a little bit more practice. You need a little bit more practice."
Got the drive.
Right? You got the drive. So you're right. But I loved how you started talking about their versatility. Are they a one-trick pony? Can they do different types of performances? Can they do different styles, different looks? That's exactly what we're looking for out of entrepreneurs, because for you to be a successful business owner, I want to know that you're not just good today. I want to know that you're going to be good tomorrow, that your product or solution is going to have the capacity to evolve and navigate different market cycles. And that's what VC companies are looking for. They're looking for that business owner that not only has a good idea, but can really take it to the next level and beyond.
What are you seeing in the LGBT community of the different types of businesses, entrepreneurs, and ventures? You know, like you see many bars or nightclubs in the LGBT world. You may see restaurants that do brunches, but what other businesses do you see overall in the LGBT entrepreneur and ventures?
Yeah, I love that question because you're right. Historically, our community has really been focused on hospitality, beauty and care, entertainment, nightlife, restaurants, all of that. But today you're seeing this next generation that are fearless. And what I mean by that is they're not coming to market thinking that they have parameters and boxes they have to fit themselves into. I am seeing LGBTQ entrepreneurs launching television channels, television and film, insurance companies, yes. Right? I'm seeing insurance companies. I'm seeing retirement villages, right? Wow. So what I love is that today, the new generation of entrepreneurs are not boxed into, we can only go into this industry, we can only go into that industry. They're tackling everything today.
Guys, I want to ask Franco so many more questions. We are over time. We're going to talk to him a little bit more after we close the show out. Guys, this show will be up here very soon. I guess when you hear this, we'll also have another show coming up with Wesley from Unleashed LGBTQ in Texas. Y'all have an awesome night. This is the Financial Drag Show. This is Jessica saying goodbye.
Nakora Holloway, bye-bye.
And thank you, Franco, from guiding us through this venture land. It's been fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.